Hey guys, welcome back to Based MMA. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down some of Islam Makhachev's fights and some of Charles Oliveira's fights going into UFC 294, guys. Because if you guys have been watching my channel now, you guys know that about a week ago, I made a video about what Charles needs to adjust if he wants to win the rematch against Islam Makhachev. But I realized something. It's very easy to say the adjustments, but in this video, I'm actually going to provide you guys a visual breakdown of openings that I see that Charles Olivera can improve on in the rematch, and why I believe that his performance in the first Islam Makhachev fight wasn't the best of Charles. You know, I know that sounds like a big hope, like I've said, but I really don't believe that Charles Oliveira showed up on the night, and that's nothing to discredit Islam Makhachev, man, because Islam Makhachev looked phenomenal, and he still looked phenomenal against Alexander Volkanovski, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't just like, oh, Islam, you know, he's not that good, but Charles just didn't show up, so he looked that good, you know what I'm saying? No, Islam Makhachev is that good. He should be respected, but I do believe that that was Charles Oliveira's worst night, man. He just didn't set up any of his strikes. You know, I think mentally, the fact that he was fighting in Abu Dhabi, I don't know if it was the fact that he was kind of underestimating Islam Makhachev. You know, a lot of people felt going into that Charles versus Islam 1 fight that Islam Makhachev didn't really deserve to be there. You know, he was coming off a win against Bobby Green, but I mean, that was short notice, guys. He was supposed to fight Dariush, but Dariush ended up pulling out of that fight. So a lot of things happened that weren't truly like Islam Makhachev's fault, you know what I'm saying? So the reality is that prior to that Charles and Islam fight, we did not know how good Islam Makhachev was on the feet. Like, we knew he was a beast on the ground, but we didn't know how good his striking was, his striking defense, his distance management, his fight IQ. I think that in his last two fights, he's really shown us that he is so good on the feet, man. I mean, he was able to stand on the feet and, you know, even beat Volkanovski in some of these exchanges. And some of us, I consider Volkanovski the best striker in the UFC, you know what I'm saying? So it just shows you how good Islam Makhachev is on the feet, guys. And obviously I'm gonna break some fight footage. I don't make any money off this, so I don't really care if this video gets copyrighted. I know some countries are not gonna be able to watch it, but I'm pretty sure most of the people that watch me are from the US or from Europe or somewhere out there. So let's do this, guys. Let's break down a little bit of these fights, some notes that I took. Man, I've seen the Alexander Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev fight probably about 25 times, guys. I've seen this fight so many freaking times. And you know what's crazy? Every time I watch it, I feel even more confident that Islam Makhachev won. You know, when I first saw it, obviously I was rooting for Alexander Volkanovski. So I was like, man, Volkanovski got it done. You know, that was my initial reaction to the fight. But the more times I've seen the fight, the more I've realized, like, actually, you know, Islam Makhachev did win most of the exchanges, you know what I'm saying? But the thing is that the thing that is deceiving is that Volkanovski had like the big moments, you know, when he dropped him in the 5th round, when he was landing ground and pound strikes, you know. Even though Volkanovski had the bigger moments, Islam Makhachev won most of the exchanges, guys. But anyway, let's actually break some of their fights down. And I'm not going to go through all the fight, right? I'm not going to post a whole 25 minutes, but I'm going to break exchanges that I think that Charles Oliveira can mimic from Volkanovski, things that work for Volkanovski, things that didn't work for Volkanovski. Let's take a look. Right off the bat, I just want to say how defensively sound Islam Makhachev is, man. He really doesn't commit it on any of his strikes. You know, he's trying to counter Volkanovski, but he's really just like, he's not necessarily pressuring, but he's just watching what Volkanovski is doing, and like right there. So we see how Volkanovski is trying to switch into that left hand. Boom, lands the left hand. Stumbles Islam back. You know, not a knockdown, but he stumbles him back. So we see here how Volkanovski tries to switch stances to close the distance and kind of go under and land on Islam Makhachev with his left hand. Islam Makhachev is starting to like notice that. You know what I'm saying? Because he kind of got stumbled earlier in that round. And, you know, Islam does such a good job of like not overreacting to anything Volkanovski does. He just kind of moves out of the way, then moves back in. Really good kick by Islam. Little front kick to the body. Boom. Drops him with his forearm. He drops him with his forearm. Let's look at that. So Volk kind of goes to close the distance. But Volk doesn't really land anything in that exchange. Let's go a little bit back. Let's go. Alright, sorry. It's going to be a little bit slow. So Volk sees. Little kick to the body by Islam. He tries to close the distance, but Islam notices. But he drops him to a knee with a forearm and then lands a really good head kick on Volkanovski, which, I mean, Volkanovski has shown that he's kind of prone to head kicks. And Makhachev is able to land a really good one on him. Okay. There he gets his respect, you know. He's like, alright, bro. Volkanovski was feeling very confident up to here. Boom. Okay, so he uses a knee in the open to then clinch up at Volkanovski and land his takedown. Does a really good job. He's so strong in the clinch, man. That's Charles. You know, Charles is also pretty good on the clinch, but with Islam, he should avoid it, in my opinion. He should avoid staying in the clinch with Islam Makhachev because Islam Makhachev is just so strong. And that's one thing I'll say right off the bat. I think people misremember that first Charles versus Islam fight where they feel like Islam did very good on the ground with Charles, but if you really watch that fight, like Charles neutralized a lot of what Islam Makhachev did on the ground. Like, you know, when he was on top, he wasn't really letting Islam, you know, move forward and progress in the position, and Charles was doing a very good job of still being very dangerous on his back. But it's something that Charles tends to do where he just likes to stay on his back. He kind of stays complacent there, but he's very dangerous in that position, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like Makhachev was necessarily dominating Charles Olivera when Charles Olivera was on the ground. And like I said, it wasn't even like Islam took him down. It was like Charles almost took himself down. That's something that Charles tends to do. And I could see him doing that in the rematch. I would probably tell him not to do that. But I mean, he did do a good job of threatening with submissions. But Makhachev is just so aware of his position on the ground that, you know, it's going to be very hard for Charles to land like a take. So here he's already trying to take down Volkanovski. Landing good knees. Volk is fighting the hands. Islam just looks so strong, man. Just trying to get that leg. You know, that's the thing too. It's like Volkanovski is so short that it's hard to get a guy like that down, man. This is level of gravity. You know, Volkanovski is still doing a pretty good job of not accepting, you know. But damn, Islam is just so fast. And so strong. So we see here, you know, Islam's trying to get that neck. But that's the thing about Volkanovski, like, he's trying to get the rear naked choke. But that's the thing about Volkanovski, the guy has no neck. So I feel like if Islam and Volkanovski were to run it back, I feel like Islam would maybe try to go for like a limb or something rather than the neck, because I think he had a very hard time in this fight getting Volkanovski's neck, man. He's just so short. Now here we're in round 2 of the fight, and I've seen people, you know, kind of go back and forth on round number 2. Some people give it to Makhachev, some people give it to Volkanovski, but let's take a look. So we're already a minute into this round. Volkanovski, you know, tries to close the distance on Makhachev. You know, doing his feints, a little uppercut feint that he likes to do. And then boom, that's a good little jab on Islam. He does that, so he always switches stances when he... But Islam falls there. I don't think he lands anything clean on Islam. You know, I think because of the angle, I'm not able to tell. Let me see. Let me go back. Oh, what am I doing? Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna go back like a couple of seconds. I'm gonna lower the speed. I just want to see if he really caught him clean or Islam just kind of fell. No, he just kind of tripped. Look, close to the distance. Did he? You can't see if the last punch landed or not. We need like another angle. Look, boom. Goes in with his left hand as he switches stances. And then he tries to land another left hand. But I don't know if that left hand lands or not, or if it's just a pressure that kind of just dropped Islam, you know, just kind of tripped on it. So then we see here, Islam quickly goes to his grappling, goes for that single leg. But look here, Volkanovski does a really good job of getting his back against the fence right away. You know, he doesn't accept being in these positions. But obviously Volkanovski doesn't have the threat of the submissions like Charles Olivera does on the ground, you know? He's like, I'm good, I'm good. You know, I think Islam Makhachev is also going to learn a lot from this fight, you know? I think, you know, as a Charles fan, I think, you know, a lot of us Charles fans we're thinking of ways that Charles Oliveira can improve from the first fight, but the reality is that Islam, you know, he can improve significantly from this Volkanovski fight as well, you know. So Charles Oliveira isn't the only one that's going to be coming into this rematch with improvements. You know, has him. Volkanovski gets up. Nope, nope, nope. And I think this was like a really moral victory right here, where he's able to get out of the, you know, Makhachev's really trying to take him down here. But, you know, Volk is doing a really good job. Do I still have it on? I'm like, why is it going so slow? Let me put it back to normal. There we go. Damn, now it feels so fast. Let me pause it. There you go. Trying to take him down. He's not able to. Yeah, he does a good job of turning right away. Turning his hips. There we go. That knee doesn't even really land. I remember watching this and then Bisping said something like, oh, a huge knee. Bro, the knee didn't even land. Look. Look, 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 look. Let me put it back to... You know, some of these exchanges, I think because of the camera angle, you're not able to see if like how clean like the strike lands. It's a little bit like deceiving sometimes. You know, you think something lands, look, that knee doesn't even land at all. Oh my god, bruh. That, look. So he turns his head right away, gets up. Nope. Nope. Nothing. Nada. Nada. So these gentlemen are back on their feet. They're back on their feet. And then Islam tries to go down. Boom. Really good knee to the body. Islam has amazing knees. Grabs him. Takes him to the fence. He's trying to use the fence to take this man down. But Volkanovski is doing a really good job. But I think right now, Islam is winning, you know? I think Islam is winning this round. You know, Volkanovski turns him. Man, Volkanovski is also so strong. Guys, I'm about to sneeze. I'm gonna pause it. Alright guys, sorry. I paused it because I was sneezing and I was like, I'm not trying to sneeze on the microphone. Anyway, allergy season, guys. Allergy season. Make sure you take your vitamin C. Yeah, so we see here that Volkanovski did a really good job of like reversing that position, and you know, now he has Islam against the fence. He's in the clinch, but you know, he's not really landing anything like huge here, you know what I'm saying? I think I think this is why this fight has been like so not misunderstood, but it's kind of easy to see why people think that Volkanovski won is because like, you know, you think of Islam, I think because people think of Islam as like this invincible force. Any little success that Volkanovski has, such as getting up to his feet and, you know, maybe reversing a position or anything like that, it's like overemphasized, you know. People kind of hype it up because they're like, oh, look what Volkanovski did, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're winning, you know. At least in my opinion, guys. Let me know down in the comments below. Maybe you think I'm full of it, you know. So we see here. I hope I'm able to post this, man. If not, this is going to be like a waste of time. So here we see that they're back on their feet, you know. There's a minute and 45 seconds left on the round. You know, Volk putting his hand out there, trying to get that lead hand. Boom, throws a little. Oh, look. Yep, that's... So Islam does such a good job of reading Volkanovski, man, because every time he pressures Islam, he like ducks his head into an exchange. Like, boom. Kind of right there. Let me go a little bit more back. Not much farther. Okay. Right there. The Volk isn't really landing anything. Throws a little body. Oh man, that... I want to say that's his left hand. Yep. Boom. Yeah, Islam won the second round. Let's see. It looks kind of funny and it's so fast. I think I put it faster. I was trying to put it slower. But Volkanovski just so good with his distance, you know. Look right there. Islam lands a really good knee. That's the thing. Like, I don't see Charles being able to do that. I think because Volk is short and strong and stocky, he's just so strong, you know. It's just a style thing. It's a height thing. You know, it's kind of crazy that Volkanovski still has a reach advantage. I think he has like 71-inch reach, and then Islamic is 70, and they're like 4 or 5 inches different in height. So let's move on to the Charles Olivera versus Beneil Dariush fight, which is Charles Oliveira's most recent performance, where, you know, he beat Dariush in the very first round. I think Oliveira showed that he made improvements, but more than that, more than just a little improvement, such as a head movement that people love to bring up, head movement. I think Charles, just the way he was fighting, he was just more calculated. Like, he was still pressuring Dariush. Like, this is how the fight started. No flying knees like freaking did to Islam like an idiot. Now, boom. That first head kick that lands just stuns Dariush right off the bat. Like, right off the bat, Dariush is like, oh, shit. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, that was a, you know, even though he blocked it, he kind of blocked it. Like, the impact was still there. You know, pressuring Dariush, but, you know, not being reckless. You know what I'm saying? Not being reckless. He still kind of stands there like in the pocket. Whenever he exchanges, he kind of stays in that position way too long. He throws a front kick, little teep to the body. Yeah. I mean, at least he has his hands up. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't really land clean on Oliveira. Nope. Blocks that head kick from Dariush. Right off the... Man, this fight was exciting as long as it lasted. You know, he does like to exchange in the clinch like that through a knee. And then here Dariush has him against the fence. Charles looks so big in there. That's something that surprised me when he was in there with Dariush. I thought they would be about the same size, but Oliveira just looks so much bigger than Dariush. There's the underhook. You see, he takes himself to the ground. He just kind of takes himself to the ground. And, you know, Charles loves being on bottom. It's like his thing, you know what I'm saying? But you know what? Dariush has some of the worst ground and pound I've ever seen. Like, dude, the guy, like, sucks at ground and pound. I don't know how many... Look, Charles blocks, blocked, 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 blocked. Nothing. Nothing. You know, Charles is trying to get that leg. Oh, I hate this thing. Okay, he lands that one. Nope, nope. He's not really landing anything flush. Little. Okay. I think we're about to see that dumb exchange. Bruh. Nope, misses. Jesus, Benio Dariush has some of the worst ground and pound I've ever seen in my life. Charles going for that leg, man. Dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. Dariush is also very good with his BJJ. Yeah, you see, it's like that same kind of exchange almost happened in that first Islam fight, but Islam kind of aborted the position. I don't know if you guys remember that. Nope, nope. So he goes back down. He's like, man, I'm having such a hard time, and I'm on top of this guy. Like Charles is, winning these exchanges even though he's on bottom. Grabs him, misses. Jesus. Like Dariush is like, his ground and pound is like if he was in the 5th round, like he looks super gassed. Like he looks so slow twitch. Like he looks super unathletic, like nothing, Nope. I'm trying to get side control. No, he's in half guard. So Charles is like, I need to get back to my feet. He gets back to his feet. That's a really good knee to the body. The clinch. Charles loves to do that. Boom. Left hand to the body. Left elbow. And then here's where he throws the amazing head kick. Just boom. Sets it up perfectly. Boom. Left hand. Right hand. Right hand again. Right hook. Right. It almost looked like it hit the back of the head. But it was obviously unintentional. So then here. He does a very good job. Boom. Yeah, man. He looked incredible in this fight. He looked incredible. And I feel like people love to be like nowadays they'll be like, oh, Dariush wasn't that good, you know what I'm saying? But I remember at the time people were hyping up Benio Dariush as like this guy that was gonna beat Islam Makhachev. This was the guy that was next for Islam. That he was gonna be able to match Islam and stuff like that. Like I don't know how many people I saw saying that Dariush was that guy. And I was almost starting to believe that until I actually went back and rewatched all of Benio Dariush's fights in the UFC. And I realized like this guy was unathletic, that he hadn't never fought somebody that pressures like Charles Olivera, and he had been knocked out in his career. I mean, he got knocked out by Edson Barbosa terribly, and I just thought this guy was a bit overhyped now just because he beat a Gamrot, that has no hands. Like he beat a washed Tony Ferguson, where he didn't really even like put that much damage on Tony Ferguson. He just pretty much controlled him on the ground. But I wasn't truly that impressed with Benio Dariush, so I found it so surprising that people were picking Benio Dariush against Charles Olivera. And people were really underestimating Charles Olivera because of that performance against Islam Makhachev, which is fair, right? Because he looked terrible in that fight, man. No excuses for Charles Olivera, but he looked awful in that fight. But when I watched that Islam versus Charles fight, I don't take away that, like Charles' chin is gone. I kind of took like, man, he fought so impatient, he fought so reckless, didn't set up any of his strikes. He looked uncomfortable in there. I felt like Islam was finding his distance pretty well on him. Every time Islam would land, Charles seemed really affected by it. That's what I took away. I didn't take away Charles' chin is gone. Islam landed a very good clean strike that many fighters have landed on Charles Oliveira that has dropped Charles Oliveira. The difference was that Islam obviously can go to the ground with Charles Oliveira and submit him. That's the only difference. I mean, how many times did Dustin Poirier drop him that first round of their fight? Like 2 times. And then Justin Gaethje dropped him twice as well. So it's something that we've seen in Charles Oliveira's career. But the difference was that Islam Makhachev can obviously go to the ground with him. But, I felt like I said, I just feel like Charles Oliveira didn't really show up on the night. And there's still adjustments that Charles Oliveira needs to make. He needs to be more patient, still kind of pressure, but be more calculated, more intelligent with the strikes you're choosing. He's fighting a southpaw. Islam has a really good left hand, and Islam loves to counter, man. He's usually not as comfortable pressuring. So I think Charles Oliveira needs to use that to his advantage. Like, let's take a look here. Like the first tries to throw the head kick, not even close. The first exchange that lands from Islam, like you could tell he's like, oh shit. Let me like play this slower. Let me see. There you go. Tries to throw that right head kick. You know, Islam does a very good job of moving out of that. Doesn't even really land. Boom, left hand that lands right away. Charles is like, oh, oh. Like right there, like I think Charles was already stunned from that first exchange, but I feel like look how Islam lunges in. If he just threw some straight punches, maybe a right hand, a jab, he could have landed pretty good on Islam, you know what I'm saying? But I felt like he was just fighting very, very not Charles, man. Like he was just throwing strikes out there just to throw them. I think he thought that Islam was just gonna be trash on the feet, you know? I think a lot of people thought that, so we don't really blame Charles for that one. Like Charles really doesn't land anything that clean on Islam. It's kind of crazy, you know, because Charles Oliveira has a lot of power. You know, he looks big in there too. Both of these guys are big, big lightweights. Let me put it back to normal speed. So there we go. So when he closes the distance, like same thing that happened with Dariush. He takes himself to the ground. Like it's not like Islam took him down. So he closes the distance. No, Charles. Don't do that. He's trying to throw with an armbar. Triangle. Yeah, so Charles Oliveira was already like attempting submissions off his back. This guy is dangerous. I think, but Islam was very aware of the threat down there. Now look what Charles tries to do here when he tries to get out of this position. Tries to go for the leg, but Islam aborts. He's like, hell nah. But he tries to go to the clinch with Islam. Why, bro? Is Charles in the sus position? Here, I think it's when I think Islam trips him right here. Boom. Yeah. You know what? Volkanovski took note of that because that was almost going to happen to Volkanovski, but he was able to defend it pretty well. That's why I don't think Charles Oliveira should try to stay in the clinch, man. Avoid the clinch at all times. But look, Charles does a very good job of still being dangerous off his back, man. He's still attempting things, you know. He's just not like letting himself get beat up. He's probably demoralized right around here. Here Charles lands a really good kick. Boom. That was nasty. But this is pretty much how the first round ends, you know. Charles Oliveira pretty much on his back for most of the round and didn't really land anything clean when he was on his feet, you know. Boom, left hand lands. Shocks Charles right away, you know. He's like, oh, takes him down, does a sweep. Like he just lunges in. Islam doing such a good job. Oh, knees to the body. You know, usually Charles is doing that to his opponents. Again. I guess he tried to take down Islam. Didn't work out for you, brother. They get off the clinch. Charles isn't really able to do anything with his striking. You know? More things up the middle, man. Let him pressure to you. Let him come to you a little bit. Good body kick. He should have been kicking Islam's legs a little bit, his calf. Charles was trying to do too much, man. He was trying to do too much in this fight. Islam was staying very composed, very patient. Left hand right hook that lands. Body kick. I mean head kick. What am I even saying? Charles did such a bad job in this fight of managing his distance, man. He did such a bad job of managing, like, dude, you weren't even close to landing that. Like, why would you even throw that? You're not at the distance to throw that kind of strike. And then he taps like 12 times. So obviously terrible performance by Charles Oliveira. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard that millions and millions of times. But like I said, guys, I really do believe that Charles Oliveira is going to come into this rematch a little bit more prepared, a little bit more aware of Islam Makhachev's strengths, and they're going to prepare for it, you know. I still think it's a very, you know, it's an uphill battle for Charles Oliveira. But the thing that I take away as well is that I just feel like Charles Oliveira he was never really able to land anything clean on Islam Makhachev. And I feel like going into the rematch, Charles Oliveira is going to be he's going to have more success on the feet. I think in the first fight, they kind of neutralized their grappling, you know what I'm saying? I think Charles Oliveira needs to do a better job of, like, you know, not staying in the clinch position, not taking himself to the bottom, you know what I'm saying? Because even though maybe he's not getting, you know, ground and pounded and he's not really getting like damaged, he's still, like, you know, you're still losing energy, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like Charles Oliveira needs to be more aware. I get it, he fights your typical strikers and he can get away with that, but he needs to know that Islam Makhachev is just a different beast, man. He really needs to play it smart. But I think Charles Oliveira has a power advantage, but he just wasn't really able to land anything clean on Islam Makhachev. And I think he needs to kind of let Islam Makhachev pressure him and throw more strikes up the middle, kick those calves, Charles. I feel like not enough fighters do that against Islam. I mean, Volkanovski kind of did it a little bit, but not a lot. I think Charles Oliveira can do a really good job of, you know, throwing strikes up the middle and, you know, more calf kicks, guys. But anyway, that's kind of my visual breakdown of these fights, guys. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.